Sister Sylvia Bay she's a Singaporean. Sister Sylvia Bay has dedicated herself to the study and practice of Buddha's teaching since the year 1992. She holds a BA Honours in Buddhist Studies from the Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka and was a lecturer with her alma mater. She also has a Master in International Public Policy from the Johns Hopkins Schools of Advanced Studies. Since the year 2001, Sister Sylvia has been regular speaker on a Buddhist doctrine and their practical application at local and regional Buddhist organizations. In the year 2013, she published her first book, Between the Lines, an analytical appreciation of the Buddha's life. From reading this book, that's the reason why I invited her to speak today. She's now working on another book titled Towards the Light and the Buddha's Guide to a Heavenly Rebirth. She will be the most appropriate person to talk to us this morning on the topic, right speech and wholesome, joyous living.
Yeah, it's going to be a simple slide. There are only 6 slides, but it will cover the main points, the key points about right speech. And at the end of this talk, I would urge that you all ask questions, because many a times I find that people find a talk useful when they are able to clarify their understanding. So let us begin. Now, when we hear the word right speech, we think that we understand what it means, right? Because it's not very difficult. Right speech. Avoid unwholesome speech and speak wholesomely, okay? So what's avoiding unwholesome speech? This came from the Buddha, found in SN. SN is Samyutta Nikaya, connected discourses. And this is found in SN 45.8. So you go into SN, you look for chapter 45, you look for discourse number 8. It's called analysis. And in there, the Buddha explained what is right speech, i.e. what is unwholesome. So he said, avoid speech that's false, divisive, harsh, nonsensical. Okay, I will explain in detail all these later. But for now, I will just show you 2 discourses. One is what is not wholesome. And the second one is what is wholesome. So wholesome speech, he said, comprises 5 factors, 5 conditions. 1, timely, true, gentle, beneficial, loving. The Pali word is metta. I took the translation from Sutta Central, and the translation was done by Ajahn Sujato. Okay, and this one came from a sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, Anguttara numbered discourses. Okay, Book of 5, 198, well-spoken words. Okay, so this is the Buddha's definition of what's right speech. 2 key elements here. Speech that are false, divisive, harsh, and nonsensical, to avoid. 2, if it's right speech, it should have 5 conditions, that it's timely, true, gentle, beneficial, and loving. So now, having set this on screen, I'm going to explain in detail, okay? If you take a step back, these are what is said. This was what was said by the Buddha. But if you take a step back and you ask yourself, so how do I remember all these? I can memorize, that's not difficult. I mean, there's 4 and 5, 9 points, not difficult to remember. But in my view, if you look at something like that, you always take a step and ask yourself, what more? What more can I learn? How else can I understand? Okay? And I'm going to introduce an acronym. Now, I have a very good friend who's very good at acronym. I'm not her standard. I'll just try my best and come up with something that people can remember. Okay. My acronym is this: ICE. Intentions, content, and expression. To ensure that we have right speech, you must bear in mind these three elements. What are your intentions? What's the substance of what you're saying? And how you say it. If you have any of these three elements missing, then do not assume that your speech was right. Okay? And I put in the plus. The plus is because my next alphabet doesn't fit into this ICE. I will explain later. The fourth one is intention, content, expression. The fourth one is actually timeliness, but I will explain later. So, intention. In anything that we do, whether we say it or we act, we always ask ourselves, is my intention pure, wholesome, or not pure, unwholesome? Many a times, even before you open the mouth to say something, you already might have made a mistake. Because we all think that when we talk or when we act, and we, as practicing Buddhists, we all assume that we want to say something for someone's benefit. It must be wholesome. It's for your benefit. It has to be wholesome. But the reality is very often, it's actually what is unwholesome that's driving in the mind. We may not even realize it. For instance, if we say, we want to tell somebody, don't do this, it's bad for you. We think it's for the person's benefit. But it's unwholesome because we are motivated by anger. Sometimes we want people to do something, but in our mind, it's because we want them to do it. Why are you not listening to me? I want you to do it. I want often leads to, why are you not doing it? I'm angry with you. So your intention from you think being beneficial is wholesome to actually it's now unwholesome because you are driven by anger. And it's very often anything driven by your anger, driven by your desires, and if your desires are very strong, you can be sure you are not wholesome anymore. And therefore, what you are advocating is now pushed by the wrong intention, unwholesome intention. So right at the start, on this ICE plus thing, you're already off. Even if you have in mind the person's benefit and so on and so forth, but you're already off. You're already unwholesome. The second thing, and I threw in this word with metta in the heart, you recall earlier on the Buddha said 5 conditions for wholesome speech, one of which is with loving condition, the love in the heart, the metta. I find that this word metta is extremely important for underlying any speech. Why? When you have metta, automatically your mind becomes wholesome. If metta is in your heart, you can be sure in terms of expression, you will be fine. You see, ICE, intentions, content, and expression. If there is metta in the heart, you can be sure that the expression will be fine. Minimally. Even if your content a little bit off, it's okay. Metta in the heart, what comes out of the mouth is sweet, pleasant, gentle. Without metta in the heart, this one you really must watch your own mind. Without metta in the heart, sometimes the words can come out sounding harsh. So this is something for people to bear in mind, okay? So this is intentions. In terms of content, there are 2 components. whatever that we say, we have to make sure that factually is correct. Factually correct is not difficult to establish. If you look at your own mind, sometimes the way that we talk, because we get excited telling a story, we may exaggerate, our mind may flow in a certain way, we want to come across looking nice, looking good, we don't want to sound too bad, so we tweak the substance. And after we have tweaked the substance, then not 100% accurate already. We have already fudged the information. So Buddha was very specific. And this thing about right, true, accurate, this element is very critical. People may argue, hey, what about half truth? What about we are just fudging, meaning it's not a lie, but you know it is not true. What if we were just to fudge a little? You know, if you are very serious about being a Buddhist and you're very serious about being a practitioner, even fudging is not good. Why? Why so strict? Because our mind, the purpose of this practice, the critical component of the practice is ultimately to see reality of the mind as it is, the reality of the world as we perceive, the reality as it is. It is so subtle. To understand the Dhamma requires a mind that is very sharp about the subtle features of the mind. Subtle means if you don't catch it, you will miss it. It's like Jet Li doing his ninja jump, right? You don't catch it, you don't see it. You go back and claim your money for your movies because you have missed it. You've missed it already. So subtle, the mind is so subtle, therefore requires this mind to be super sharp, laser sharp in catching the nuances. If one lies or one fudges truth, at some point, the mind no longer is able to distill the subtle features, the nuances. So you must understand that when we lie or when we fudge the truth, we are actually damaging our mind, damaging its ability to see the Dhamma, see the mind as it is. So this thing comes with a cost, okay? Not upholding truth to the best of our ability comes with a cost. And this cost doesn't last for just one life. As Buddhists, we believe in lives. So the cost to lying can come in future lives, okay? The next part about content is beneficial, meaning for the welfare of another. I will tweak this a bit, is for the welfare of both us and another. Later I'll explain why. When we explain something to people, we ask people to do something. We try to persuade them to an alternative course of action. We must be mindful that our objective is wholesome, pure, and it's for the benefit of the other person also. In fact, if you are trying to persuade him to do it, it better be for his benefit and not for your benefit. Very often, people ask another to do something saying it's for your benefit, it's for your benefit. But the reality is, you are also beneficiary. Sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we bluff ourselves that it's for the other person's benefit, but it's actually for ours. I'll give you an example. On something like, say, getting your child to study. Boy, study. Girl, study. For your benefit. So the next time you can earn a good job. Seriously? It's only for his benefit? You have no self-interest in it? And you say, got lah, bit lah, then you're being honest. And you say, don't have, it's entirely for him, then you're not being honest. If you think about it, many a times we make our children do things because really, if they don't do it, it works against us. It's to my detriment. So this thing is for me, I'm very clear. In your mind, be very clear why you are asking someone to do something. You must be motivated by wholesome, 1, and 2, that you seriously are concerned about the other person's welfare. So this is important, content. The third one is straightforward. It's just expression. I use the word gently, but actually it's a whole host, it's a whole lot of adjectives. The way that we say something must be persuasive, must be patient, must be kindly. So how we say it sometimes is as important as what you say and why you say. So intention is why, content is what, and now expression is how. What you say, why you say it, and how you say it fundamentally determines what's right speech. So it's not so straightforward anymore. It's not just I avoid 4 things and I must remember 5 things. It is spending a bit of time reflecting on what you want to say, and then spend time thinking about how you want to say it. And how you say something sometimes will make the difference between whether it works or it doesn't work. Very often, if you think about your own, if you think about your own habit, right, or your own experience, you think about your own experience. Sometimes you want someone to carry a bad news, a piece of bad news. Who do you find to convey that bad news? You don't find somebody who goes there and, 𝗥𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁, right, point fingers and speak harshly, because you know it won't work. But you'll find someone who you deem to carry some weight with the other person, so he can put up with a bit more information. And this person, maybe the best is to find someone who is skillful, right? You find a person who is skillful. You find a person who is persuasive. Then you ask yourself, why is this person skillful? Why is this person persuasive? Why is this person's words effective? And very often you will find that in the manner this person conveys the information, it's usually more palatable to others. Then you ask yourself further, why is it what he say works and other people say doesn't work? Maybe it's just because he's this thing about gentle. He comes across as well-intentioned. That's the point. Your expression can sometimes convey an idea, convey your welfare, your thoughtfulness better than what is said. So this part, intention, content, expression, and I said one more, and this one, timeliness. The plus is timeliness. ICET has no meaning, so ICE plus timely works a bit better. Why timeliness? Actually, most of us, unless we are really bad, unless we are really hopeless at this, but most of us are actually quite good at assessing timeliness. Usually when we assess, we base it on a perception of whether the person is ready to hear. Sometimes, for the ones who are more superstitious, they pick a good day to convey a message. But this is not about picking a good day. It is really about whether the situation calls for it. If the situation doesn't call for it, you go convey an info, it wouldn't work. Then the question is, when is a situation calling for something? This is when judgment matters. So here again, it's about judgment. When it is appropriate, it usually means something happening is relevant to what you want to say. At other times, if you say, hey, waiting for a long time and the occasion doesn't arise, then you create the occasion, create the opportunity. That's okay. If the message is critical, you create the occasion. Why do I flesh out this point? Because we humans tend to be quite impatient. Sometimes, because it's about us, right? It matters to us. There is an anxiety about conveying the message. So we get all excited going to tell someone something. And we are not necessarily aware that occasion is wrong time, wrong period, wrong occasion, because we're more excited about us. So you think about it, the things that we want to say very often is really about us, not about the person listening. If you think about it. And what I'm saying is, when you want to say something, you should actually be more aware of the other person, whether he's ready, whether he's receptive, whether truly what you want to say is good for him or not, and so on and so forth. It's really about that person. Okay? And this is slide number 2. Now, earlier on, in the first slide, I mentioned the Buddha said 4 types of speeches one must avoid, right? Lies, slander, harsh speech, and idle talk, gossiping, right? In Pali, the 4th one is sammā. Sammā, sammā. So it helps you remember a bit. Here, I want to show you how the Buddha explained each one, okay? Starting with falsehood. And this is also in Anguttara Nikaya. I'll show you later. But you look at what he said. They lie. They're summoned to a council, assembly, meeting, and so on and so forth to bear witness. And they said, please, mister, say what you know. Not knowing, they say, I know. Knowing, they say, I don't know. Not seeing, they say, I see. And seeing, they say, I don't see. So, deliberately lie, number 1, for the sake of themselves or another, number 2, several reasons, worldly reason. So, a lie is when someone know an event, an issue, a matter, and they deliberately fudge with trivial reasons, for whatever reasons. This is very straightforward. In fact, of the 4, in my view, this is the most straightforward. If you think about it, you know something to be factually wrong, but you have every intention to fudge. End of story. Okay. End of story. Meaning to say, there is no such thing as what you would call a white lie. There's no white lie. You know it's not true and you say it because of whatever reason. It's a lie. So there's no white lie. There is no lie for another person's benefit. That kind of thing. It's if it's wrong, it's wrong. Okay. So this is, to me, this is quite straightforward. You know, I'm not sure if you can see what's on my screen, but previous. I have the screen that is in the way. Okay, I will try now. 2, slander. They speak divisively. They repeat in one place what they heard in another, so as to divide people against each other. And so they divide those who are harmonious, supporting division, delighting in division, loving division, speaking words that promote division. You look at the way it's said, the intent in slander is to divide people. People who otherwise are actually together. They don't mind being together, they enjoy it. But if you, number one, when you say something and you end up causing people to don't like each other, to dislike each other, then you are guilty of pisuna vaca. The Pali word is pisuna vaca, slander. So if you're thinking about the legal definition of the word slander, legal definition, many of the things that we say do not fall into that category. But if you think of the Buddha's definition of what is slander, many of the things that we say actually fall into this category. You think about it. If you go and talk bad about people, or maybe you're not intending to talk bad. In your mind, you're not talking bad. You are venting. In your mind, you are venting. But you go and you say to someone, you know, so and so, it's not nice because he's like that and she's like that. He's not nice. In your mind, you said, I never intended for you to don't like them. I wasn't dividing you. But when you say something like that, when you say that, people are affected. Their mind is tainted. And because their mind is tainted, they have a view now. You go and feed them a view. So because their mind is tainted, then what? They will then have this sense of, I don't like this guy. He's not very nice. Because most people are not that skillful to be able to say, I remain unaffected by what you say. I refuse to be affected. Most people are not that skillful. So because you are angry, you went to complain to someone. That poor number two, your friend number two, listen to your complaint, gets affected, and now view number three as a problem. You are therefore guilty of pisuna vaca. Whether or not your intent is to divide, you have now divided. So many a times when we gossip, you tell me how often you gossip to gossip about someone being a good person. How often we gossip to say, you know, so and so is the most wonderful fella ever. He did this and such a wonderful thing, and he did that and that's such a wonderful thing. And no, most people, when they come together to gossip, they are slandering. When they gossip, it's usually to complain, to whine, to vent, to tell people the truth, and so on. So you can see immediately that when you gossip, you already fall into this category of slandering. Okay? Okay, move on. Harsh speech, pasura vaca. They speak harshly, they use the kind of words that are cruel, nasty, hurtful, offensive, bordering on anger, not leading to immersion. Immersion here means you disturb people's mind. People's mind generally can be quite, not all, but sometimes if you leave them alone, they don't get too disturbed. But you just imagine, all you need to do is to say something that hurts. Straight away, they can find no more, they can no longer find peace. That's the idea. Not leading to immersion, they lose their peace, the sense of peace. Okay? Words that are cruel, nasty, hurtful, bordering. This one is not just about screaming and yelling, it's not expression. is the nature of the words that is, oh no, the nature of the word that is not nice. And when something is not nice, it hurts and people remember, they get affected. Now, this harsh speech doesn't say how it's done. Meaning to say, it is not how you say it, but what you say. This part you must remember. You can say the most cruel things in the sweetest of voice. You can say nasty things without raising your voice. Something to bear in mind. It's not when you scold, and therefore that counts as harsh speech. Buddha said words that are cruel, nasty, hurtful, offensive. Offensive. Sometimes when we say people, we think we meant well, and we say something like, hey, you're going out like that? It's very disturbed. What is like that? Or you say something like, you know, you talk very funny, and then you put a full stop without explaining. That is also harsh speech, you know. Because your words are not sweet. You cause if you cause people to experience agitation, in other words, if your words cause people to feel agitated, to feel disturbed, to be affected, even if it's mildly, then your words were not skillful already. Suddenly I remember this lovely word, skillful. Right speech is skillful speech, in other words. Skillful speech means when you say it, it helps. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't destroy. That's the key thing. And it takes a lot of skill to continue be able to speak like that. One day, one time, you can be skillful. Whole day, all times, you will trip. Because our basic nature is not powerfully wholesome. If we are very wholesome, consistently, at all time, you're relatively safer. Safer from wrong speech. But if you're not all the time skillful, not all the time wholesome, that lobha, greed, dosa, aversion can arise in your mind, then the chances of one of these four happening are very high. Four means falsehood, slander, harsh speech, and the fourth one, idle speech. Chances of idle speech happening even higher. Untimely, neither factual nor beneficial, nothing to do with Dhamma. Words have no value, ultimately unreasonable, rambling, pointless. By the way, he's not saying, if you meet the following conditions, then it is idle speech. He's saying, any of this is idle speech. Any of these. If it's untimely, it's idle. If it's neither factual nor beneficial, it's idle. It's nothing to do with Dhamma. And you know, how often we talk about Dhamma the whole day? So the odds of us lapsing into idle speech is actually very high. You think about it, because we don't talk about Dhamma all the time. Let me say a few more words about that point, Dhamma. Often we think that when we quote sutta, when we talk about discourses, that's Dhamma. But no, actually Dhamma is more than that. If you urge people to be wholesome and kind, if you talk on any of the three, Panya, Sila, Samadhi, whether you're talking about Panya, about Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Paths, Tilakkhana, and so on, I mean, as long as it's along that line and you stay on track, that's Dhamma. Nobody doubts that. Nobody argues with that. But the second one, Sila. Sila is life. Sila is our life. So anytime you talk about wholesome and you point out, you tell yourself, avoid unwholesome, be focused on gentleness, on metta, anytime, anything along that line, on filial piety, on gratitude, on blessings, you name it, anything wholesome, that is Dhamma. Okay? As long as it's wholesome, it's Dhamma. If it's unwholesome, you talk about how to tackle unwholesome, how to restore wholesome. That's Dhamma. It's okay. You talk about shopping and movies, that's not Dhamma lah. You talk about COVID-19, it's okay depending on what aspects of COVID-19 you want to talk about. If the COVID-19 is all about, hey, you're the government imposing, whatever do you have it over there? No movement or something, I don't know what you call it. But over here, we get stay at home notice. You grumble and grumble and grumble about these things. That's not Dhamma lah. That is karma, that's not Dhamma. Okay? Okay. Words having no value, unreasonable, untimely, rambling, pointless. So the question, and I've always been asked this, every time I give this talk, when it comes to Sammā, people will say, why Buddha is so strict? Let me tell you why. Why do we talk? If you ask yourself, right? If you ask your own mind, you be honest at least to yourself, okay? If you're honest to yourself, why do we talk? Why do we chat? Actually, embedded in the chatting process, right? It's a lot of joy. It's a lot of delighting, pleasure. So we talk in part because we find pleasure in talking. We're just enjoying the moment and blah, 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 blah. Better than quiet mind. So people actually feel delight. And talking is gratifying delight. So talking pointlessly is actually pleasure. The other time where you feel you have to talk is when there's anger. So if you think about it, right, talking in itself without proper direction and not mindful, no mindfulness in the talking, is one, energy sapping. Two, it's all about enjoyment, pleasure or anger. These are the extremes. That's why people want to gossip about others, because gossiping gives pleasure, gives delight. It's enjoyable. So all these elements of false speech will contain, if you see it, all four elements, all four types of wrong speeches, all four types will have unwholesome intention in terms of content, either not accurate, fuzzy, of no benefit to anyone, not even for yourself. And three, you can get more and more unwholesome as you speak, or the way you say things become rather unskillful. Okay? So that's the reason why we have to be very careful in the kind of things that we say, we discuss, and how we say it. Okay? Why right speech? Now we'll all be talking about no wrong speech, no, cannot do this, cannot do that, cannot. Now I ask you, why must we do this? Why is there right speech? If you're a live audience, I'll ask you. Then I'll wait here for your answer. But because you are a live audience, but not, your mics are all shut down, so you can't answer me. I'll answer myself. In everything that we do, we must bear in mind, as practitioner, it has to be to the welfare of ourselves and others. Something that you must bear in mind. Whatever that we do must be for the welfare of others and ourselves. Both sides. It's a win-win situation. The Buddhist always looks for a win-win situation. Okay? For others, I said mental health and growth. For others, mental health and growth. What do we mean? If what you say hurts their mind, it's two different things. What you say hurts people's mind. You crush, you cause them pain, you agitate, you increase their lobha dosa. Moha is a given. I don't even talk about moha. Lobha dosa is not a given. Are not givens. They can happen through trigger. Okay, lobha and dosa are not given, but you can trigger them. So if whatever that you say triggers people's lobha and dosa, you are not helping mental health. You're not making them happier. You're making them sadder. You're making them more agitated. You're causing them to, even for one thing, you raise their one thing. I want this, I want that, I want that. That is also not for mental health, right? Growth. Sometimes what you say not only affects this point, lobha dosa, this point, it affects them down the line. So if let's say you keep telling someone, you hopeless lah, you hopeless, you hopeless. What happened? You increases their anger to you and to themselves. I'm hopeless, I'm hopeless. And then they feel they can't do things, they're not going to try, they give up, they feel helpless. Then you have affected their growth down the line. So mental health is a fixed point in time, plus, but growth is going forward from here. So the speech, we have to be very careful that what we say affects people now and later, because they will think about it. And the more impact you make on a person's mind, the more they think about it, the more they get agitated. And subsequently, you may say, it's not my problem, I say once only. Yeah, but you do realize there's a built-in recording button here. You don't even need the video recording. There's a built-in recording button here, and then it chants by itself. It will happily replay at will. And the more pain it causes, the more it will replay. 何苦呢? Why you do this? Why do you cause people so much pain? Very often, we cause people pain because we ourselves don't want to feel the pain. So we must say it, and then you hurt people. Now, it's also for yourself. We are observing right speech also for ourselves. We sometimes think that we are doing people a favor. I observe right speech for you. No, I will show you how it is for us. I just plot the whole thing there. They have to click. You tell me, you think about it. The people that you like, are they nice people? Most times, if they are not nice people, then there must be some issues about them that maybe make them special to you. I don't know. But in most cases, people who are well-liked, they tend to have the skill of right speech. They tend to. This is to cover the ones who didn't have skill. But most time, you think about it. You think about the people in your life. Or you just go a spectrum of people that you know from the day you were born to today. The strange of people, right? All the ones that you like and the ones that you're really very scared of them, you very much don't like them. You go and look at their speech. What is the percentage of the ones whom you like? What is the percentage of them having right speech? In some way. Maybe they may not be very well versed. The content may be a little bit off, but they're very good at expressing themselves. Very nice speech. Possible. That's why they're likable. So when I say social standing, it really is real. You may or may not think it's important, but if you don't like loneliness and you want to have engagements and you want people to look up to you and you want your words to sink into people, social standing is important. If you carry a reputation for being harsh or difficult or whatever, or gossipier, this will be affected. Okay. The second one is happiness. Right speech with the right motivation, carried across in a pleasant and gentle, kind way, often reflects a mental state. I always tell people, angry people, people who have a natural, who are very hot-tempered and naturally angry, very hard for them to say things nicely. Very hard. So if you are able to train yourself into pausing before the words pop out, and because you had paused and you had revised and you had censored, and then the words that come out become skillful, this is training. This is training. And if you begin to notice that the way you say things have gotten nicer and sweeter and gentler, it's reflective of your mind. Your mind is probably lighter and sweeter and gentler. So, right speech on the surface doesn't seem like much because we have been talking from the day we were born. But it actually is a mirror of the mind. You tell me, people that you know, of the people that you know, is there one who has very gentle mind, lovely, gentle, wonderful energy, mental energy, but come out awful? Do you know of one person like that? The odds are not likely. Odds are not likely. The odds are what comes out actually is a very good mirror of what's up there. And this one you can tweak, and that one also you can tweak, because we're all anatta. You can change things. You can shift things fundamentally until your mother cannot recognize you type. You don't really shift. It can be done because we are anatta. It can be done. The next point on spiritual practice, you know, Eightfold Path, right? If you look at the Eightfold Path, we typically say 2, 3, 3, right? 2 on Panya, wisdom, 3 on Sila, training and discipline, taming, and 3 on Samadhi. But the reality, if you look at the substance of it carefully, it's not 2, 3, 3, you know. I don't know where 2, 3, 3 came from. It's actually, the first one is the only one that is purely Panya. But 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they are all Sila related. 7 and 8 are possible. 7 is Sati, mindfulness, and 8, Samadhi, concentration. The last 2 are possible only when Sila is anchored properly. So on spiritual practice, I'm actually not just talking about right speech, but right speech is a very key component of Sila practice. Sila practice has only 3 components. I'm not talking about Eightfold Path. Sila practice has 3 components. What appears in your mind, what pops up from your mouth, and how you act towards people. If you look at the way you engage the world, the huge chunk of it, the huge engaging the world, not engaging this world, engaging the external world. The huge chunk of your engagement is through this, the mouth, not action. You think it's action. Or how often you stand out and give a seat to an old lady? How often do you have to go and carry things for people? How often do you do things as an expression of your kindness? Not very often. Very often is what comes out here. And this one, therefore, is a critical component of your practice. Because, for a few reasons, but one of which is, it's very fast. From here to here is like that only, it's very fast. And sometimes it doesn't, it bypass this. It doesn't bypass this. You see and you react. You didn't even think. You didn't even do censorship. The Ministry of Censorship didn't work. It can happen. So the more you train yourself, the more you will sieve out what's not worth saying. You notice that at the earlier part, it's all about a lay life. Lay secular life. Because we're talking about lies and slander and harsh speech and you name it, right? This is lay life. But I'm going on beyond just the lay life. It is nothing to do with lay or monastic. It's just life. A person in this world, we go through this phase. Birth, death. This is just one phase. And in this phase, actually, in our mind, we don't cut it into lay or not. It's just a phase. And in this phase, if we don't take the opportunity to cultivate skillfulness in how we say things, said, how we say and what is said, if we don't cultivate these two, the world cannot see the state of your mind. The world can only guess the state of your mind through what comes out. You see that? So, if you say, I'm a Buddhist and I want to do it right by the Buddha, then you have to practice skillful speech. What does it mean by skillful speech? It means you are very clear what you're going to say and you say it wisely, carefully, gently. You force yourself to calm down first, think through before you say anything. And then when it comes out, you must be mindful, didn't hurt. If it hurts, go back and practice again. Okay? Finally, on this thing about heavenly rebirth. This actually came from the Buddha. If you go to, did you see, hang on. Previous slide. Did you see the previous slide? 𝗥𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁. Seriously. Okay. Oh yeah, you can't see it. It's here. Can you see it? 𝗥𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁, Book of 10.211, Hells. And this is where there is mention that wrong speech will lead one to hell. Not will. It can happen. Can lead one to hell. So this thing about heavenly rebirth, whether it's really you end up in the Dewa realm or wherever it is, the whole idea is avoid the bottom realm, right? I mean, we don't know at the end of this life whether we necessarily will go up to the Deva realm. But we believe there is a rebirth, that we will come again. And we believe that there are many realms. Seriously, you want to avoid the lower ones, right? I mean, I assume that's a given. Then practice right speech. It helps. Why? Because if you spend your life speaking gently, not hurting people, not causing pain, not causing pain. And not just that, take it one step further. Don't stop at avoiding 𝗥𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁. Take it one step further. Help people with their mental growth, help with their mental health and their growth. Help people with that. Say the thing to inspire, to encourage, to motivate, to calm, to nurture, to heal. That's your job. You as a practitioner cannot stop at, I don't say bad things. It has to take it one step further. And the further you can go, the better it is for everybody. Because you are a practitioner, you know how to heal your mind, right? Practitioner means you know how to heal your mind. If you don't know how to heal your mind, you're not a practitioner. You are a practitioner wannabe. It's not the same. A practitioner knows how to heal your own mind, and therefore, it is your job to go and help others. This is not rocket science. This is to me, it's very sensible. Why is it sensible? Because if the world around you are happier people, you have less job to do. You are also a happier person. If the world around you gets more and more agitated, guess who gets affected? You know. So it's very simple. It's for yourself. It's literally for yourself and for others that you are trying to help. You help this, you help others, sweet out. Everything is fine. Okay? I think this is it. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. You can ask questions.
The first question is, how do we really understand and able to see the reality of the mind? Sister Sylvia, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm muted. You know, seeing reality of the mind actually means this. See, for a start, to recognize three elements: anicca, impermanence; dukkha, suffering, the usual translation is suffering; and anatta, non-self. In the five aggregates, from your feelings to how you perceive the world, to how you react to the world, Shankara, the experience of life, the experience, vijnana, and the form. In these five elements, to be able to see each element as impermanent. If you can see all three, great, but minimally, it must become very obvious to you that each of the aggregate, whether it's a perception of the form, to a feeling, to a sensation, to everything is impermanent. This is the reality of the mind. Then you say, but I know. You know it's not seeing. You know is you thought through, is processed. Seeing is without words, in a state where the mind is detached and observing. The mind becomes aware of the constant, the changing influx, the influx changing, the constant arising of, when you are new, you will see only arising. Okay? Arising of feeling, arising of perception, arising. When you're new, that's what you are very aware of. In time, you will start to perceive that in the arising, there is a fading, arising. And further down the line, it's not really cessation per se, but you actually realize that it's over. It's over. And so on. So this is one aspect of the mind that you become very aware of. The second aspect is your own mortality. Mortality is, you will say, oh, but we know we'll die. You know you'll die, you don't believe you will die yet. That's the problem. The reality is you actually don't know when you will die. You don't know if the next minute you're going to kill over. You don't know that. But you assume you wouldn't kill over 1 point from now. In fact, we assume we won't kill over 1 year from now. And if we are very young, we largely more assume that we won't kill over 10, 20, 60 years from now. Can you see that that is a delusion? Because if you don't know, then how do you know you won't kill over? You don't know. So reality of the mind is nothing esoteric. This is very real. It's really what is happening right here and now. The fact that you are deluded about your own immortality, it's a delusion. And you are not deluded about changing nature of mind. You're not deluded on that because you know it changes. The question is not what you know, it's what you accept and what you can identify with. If you are angry, your mind gets seized by that object that triggered the anger. So it's caught up in two things. It's caught up in more things, but I'll just point out a couple of things. It's caught up in the object of anger. What triggered your anger? You're caught up with it. You're caught up with the thought construction connected to that. You're also caught up with the feelings. Anger is painful. Or if you guys can't hear me, it's because my internet is unstable. Okay? It keeps telling me my internet is unstable. So anger as a vedana feeling is painful. And because now you have three things that you are juggling, the balls is being tossed around, three things. The object of anger, the construction, the thought construction, sankhara associated with the anger, and the feeling of anger. And with these three means your vijnana is caught up with anger. And you can't let go. When we say let go, what are we letting go of? We're letting go of clinging on to the anger, clinging on to the object, clinging on to the thought construction. If you can let go of your vedana, sanya, sankhara, suilya, because it means you are letting go. But if you cannot let go of any of the three, you can't even see that it's three elements. And you are, and you won't let go because the sensation is so tight. You feel it will last forever. Even though you know it will pass, but you still feel it will last forever. You feel it. That's delusional. That's the nature of delusion. So to understand, what are we understanding? We are actually understanding the five aggregates and its impermanence and the fact that it's dukkha and it's anatta. So for details on the whole talk, you can refer to my last week talk at BF, okay? That part there. Huh? This is how to understand. How to see requires sati samadhi. You have, in regular life, you can peep at it, you can peep and have a sense that it's impermanent, but it won't last. In order for the experience to really deepen to sink in very deep, you have to be able to quieten down the mind. To still the mind if you can. But if you can quieten it down, keep it a bit not so distracted, not so all over the place. If you can do that, you will then begin to see, to observe anicca, dukkha, anatta in the aggregates. It becomes more obvious. You become more obvious. If you're not talking about aggregates, you're talking about sense bases. It doesn't matter which one. To get to a level where you're seeing at the sense-based level and to see at the aggregates level means your mind is quietening down. So you see and you know it's anicca. You hear and you know it's anicca, and so on and so forth. Okay? So it's all. So that answered the question. Huh? Should I tell a good friend about her husband? You know, I will put it like that. Sometimes you are in custodian of a piece of information that is harmful to someone you love. It doesn't have to be this specific incident. It can be anything. You know, and you know it can hurt people. What do you do? This is the kind of perennial dilemma, right? What do we do? What we do, to me, depends. If you are responsible for you are responsible for this other individual, meaning you have to provide the care, you have to ensure the safety, the well-being, and so on. If that is your job, your children is your responsibility. Your parents, if they are old, is your responsibility. Then you have to do more steps. But if you are not responsible for the individual's upkeep and all, then you have to ask yourself, why are you getting involved? Why are you proactively intervening in the matter? In most cases, you will feel that, oh, I'm intervening because I feel responsible. So my question is, why do you feel responsible? That's point one. Do you or do you not say? One depends on to what degree of responsibility you have. The second one is really, is your approach the correct approach? Do you talk to A or do you talk to B? You want to intervene. Do you talk to A or do you talk to B or do you talk to C? So that's the second point, which you have to think through, okay? Sometimes it is not telling someone else because you feel that I'm close to this guy, I only tell this guy. It won't work. Nothing will work. You're going to create more trouble and tension. You may actually have to go to the source, the person who is responsible. You have to do it. Since you say you know, ma, then you say, yeah, but it's not my job. Then why is it your job to go and tell the other person? So sometimes it has to go that way. If you ask me if I am in the situation, how would I do it? I honestly will not intervene. I will not intervene, but it doesn't mean intervene in the way you want me to. I tell you, you have this problem. No. I will try and think about a way, if it really matters, it really must help this person, I will think of a way to provide constructive help as opposed to destructive information. You provide the information, you say, nah, your problem. You're just freeing yourself a problem. I will provide constructive help. So I just go to this person and say, if you ever have this kind of problem or that kind of problem, you let me know, I'll try and help in this way and that way. Very specific. Okay, so if you have this problem, let's say loan shark come to your house, you let me know, I will try and help you. And why would loan shark be coming to your house? That's a different story. But the point is, if you just tell this person, hey, loan shark is going to come to your house, how is that going to help? You're just making the fellas fearful. You say that, you must go and solve, you must go and provide more help, you know. You cannot just, I tell you already, it's your problem, bye-bye. You see what I'm saying? So to proactively do something, because you're a layperson, if you're a monastic, it's a different story. If you're monastic, you will not do anything. You do not get involved. But you're not monastic and you are a layperson, and in a lay capacity, you feel you should help. And very often, when we say, I feel I should help, it's really because of yourself. You feel that if you are in the same situation, you would like someone to tell you. Be preemptive and tell me. But that's you. You don't know if the other person has the same approach to life. You know, one of my favorite questions, as a doctor, you know, Dr. Wee, one of my favorite questions is to ask people this. I ask people, if let's say you come down with cancer, do you want people to tell you? In a class, and I've been asking this in many of my classes, actually 3 years, back-to-back 3 years, I asked 3 classes. And in all 3 classes, the reply was overwhelmingly, like 80-90%, say, I want to know, tell me. If I got cancer, you tell me. Then I asked them the second question, if your loved one has cancer, will you tell them? That's where everybody paused, and then they went, no. The majority says no. Then I said, why this discrepancy? You want to know, but you don't want to tell people. Why? Because they cannot manage. They cannot handle the truth. That's often the reply. Then I asked them, how come you can handle the truth? Well, other people that you care about cannot. It's a class thing, you know. Then, as a result of the chit-chat and talk and all, we ascertain that the reason why people take this position is really because inconvenient. It's inconvenient. It is difficult. We have a bit of a problem. Hey, we could tell them that they cannot handle that. How? It's actually you. It's nothing to do with that person. So the same thing goes in whatever problems that you have to tackle in life. Do not assume that everyone comes from the same angle as you. The only thing you have to be very careful about is wholesomeness or not. What is your motivation? And if you were to talk, what's the result that you want to achieve? What is it you're trying to, how are you trying to help? Or are you just getting the problem off your chest and it's your problem, not mine? That one you have to be very clear. Okay, so I have no yes or no answer for you, because it's not a yes or no answer. It's a conditional answer. It depends on the person, it depends on you, it depends on your relationship, it depends on how much you are responsible for this individual, etc., etc. It's a conditional answer. And in any conditional answer, there is no right answer. There is no right answer. There is only a less destructive answer, a more constructive answer. That's all you have. Okay? Yes.
Because due to time restraint, can we end the session?
Okay.
Can you do the transference of merits?
That we have all come together to enjoy this morning Dhamma session. I hope that we have all experienced joy, and with this joy that we have accumulated, with the merits that we have accumulated, we would like to share with all beings. 𝗥𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗁 𝗪𝗔 𝗵𝗂 𝗪𝗔 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 sabbe buddha numodantu samma 𝗪𝗔 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 punya-sampadang sabbe satta numodantu samma 𝗪𝗔. Now we'd like to invite our departed relatives to come forth and share the merits. Idame nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idame nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idame nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo.
We really like to thank Sister Sylvia Bay for such an enlightening talk this morning. I think all of us learned from it. Thank you, Sister Sylvia.
Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And we shall end the session now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.